Thank you so much for being here. Over here, we have the waterfront. Annapolis is one of the most beautiful waterfront cities in America. This water that brings so many people here is one of our greatest assets, one of our biggest economic drivers, but also it's one of our greatest threats. We saw that on Tuesday. On Tuesday, if I'd been standing a step down there, the water would have been up to my waist. It went around the market house and took out some of our most valuable businesses in the city. Our businesses are used to this. They have a strategy, but when you get the third worst flooding event in history, in recent history in the city coming to you, we have to find ways to help them. We have great partners at the state and at the county to help us get these businesses back on their feet. Senator Elfreth texted me the other day about an idea which we could activate if we declare a state of emergency. It will unlock funds that these businesses can use, and I'll let them elaborate as they come to the microphone. And I want to say we have a great team here. We have Chris Jakubiak, we have our emergency management team here, many of the people from that. We have our economic development people here that are going to help the businesses get to these resources as soon as possible. This makes the case for protecting the city. We are at the state right now asking for the last $3 million of the $18 million that the state has committed to this amazing project. We are doing a $90 million revitalization of downtown. That not only is building a garage for us, but it is building a barrier against sea level rise, building a barrier against the next catastrophic weather event, and creating a great public space, a park at City Dock, a spray park, things for people to do when they come down here. So making this city resilient, at the same time we're making this city more attractive. So we want to thank the state for their support on that, especially in this tight budget that's coming up now. And I'm going to now hand it off to the county to let you know where to go to access this money. And I want to thank the businesses for their patience through this time. It was a tough thing to go through. We know that they're veterans at this, but I think this one hurt particularly bad. So we want to make sure we get them back on their feet as soon as possible. Thank you. Amy?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Amy Gowan, President and CEO for Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation. And for those who don't know, our organization exists to help the business community in Anne Arundel County and within the city of Annapolis. So whether it's to help them start up or grow, or unfortunately in situations like this, we're here to help businesses. So when Mayor Buckley called me yesterday and when Senator Elfreth reached out and said, can you deploy some grant funding that is available, it was a resounding yes from both myself and County Executive Stuart Pittman. So I just wanted to say thank you so much to Senator Elfreth and Delegate Jones for their leadership last session to make the state's video lottery terminal funds available for disaster situations like this. And our organization is nimble and can employ and can deploy them quickly. And so we are in the process of standing up our grant program. It is a disaster relief program. We will offer up to $50,000 for businesses that have damage due to flooding, so it can be used for things like equipment, property damage, and some income loss. We will have information on our website today. You can visit that at aaedc.org or myarundelbiz.org. And we will be taking applications starting on Tuesday. So again, thank you very much. We stand ready to support the businesses of this city. And I am going to now turn it over to Delegate Jones to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you all for being here. Again, my name is Delegate Dana Jones. I am in the House of Delegates here for Annapolis, and I just really want to thank the incredible work of my friend, Chief Simmons, the Annapolis Office of Emergency Management, as well as emergency responders countywide. With over 5 feet of storm surge, over 17,000 left without power in the region, these heroes once again stepped up, as they always do, and answered the call. From the storm water rescues to ensuring infants had the equipment they needed, the community is indebted to you, and I sincerely thank the Office of Emergency Management. As many of you know, this week with our in the legislature, we kicked off the 446th legislative session. bringing an additional 185 legislators and countless staff to my district, District 30A, for the next 90 days. This storm and the floodwaters brought by it really struck many of my colleagues and showed them firsthand the importance of the work that we are doing in the legislature to protect our communities from future storms. With the mayor's emergency declaration, as Amy just explained, Annapolis small businesses and nonprofits are now able to receive VOLT funding for up to $50,000 in aid to mitigate damage from this week's storms. I want to thank my friend, Mayor Buckley, his leadership in unlocking these funds, and my partner and friend, who I stand shoulder to shoulder with on both days like this and bad ones, Sarah Elfreth. I am forever grateful to my friend who I work with every day. We, in 2022, authored and passed legislation that allows the flexibility for funds to be used this way. Tragically, localized severe flooding and wind events were the exact disasters that the senator and I considered when writing this legislation 3 years ago. We stood in parole, shoulder to shoulder, and helped that community clean up after an EF2 tornado. And today we're here again, heartbroken by the damage to our community, our small businesses, and so many others. In addition to the funding to help businesses recover from storms like this, we must also invest in resiliency projects to help stop damage from rising flood levels prior to it happening. This week we saw compromised streets stay open for hours longer than it normally would have, just because of the early deployments of storm and water management infrastructure. I'm so proud to have worked with my district partners to bring millions of dollars home in state funding that will go towards permanent city dock resiliency infrastructure to prevent future flooding, and I am eager to see the city complete this project in the coming years. I'm so proud of everything that y'all have worked on. With that, I want to introduce my dear friend, my partner in the Senate on so many issues affecting Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, Senator Sarah Elfreth.
Good morning. I have the great privilege of representing you in the state Senate, but I also stand here as a neighbor downtown. I live just right behind us, and so whenever we anticipate rising seas and storms, my first thought is always going to be to my neighbors right here, to Ryan and to Alice and to the Big Cheese and to those who are most affected whenever we have a large storm. Now, climate change is happening. I share it with my colleagues on the Senate floor regularly, and it's happening right here in the city of Annapolis. Between tornadoes and flooding, we are going to continue to see these natural disasters impact our communities. That's the bad news. But the good news is with every tornado and every flood, we get better. We get better at cutting the red tape. We get better at responding. We get better at being there for our neighbors. And so we learned lessons with every ensuing disaster after the tornado that devastated Parole and Alderwoman Rhonda Pindell Charles's district. After we've seen the record floods destroy Alderwoman Ellie Tierney's district, we learned what went wrong and what we can do better. And we learned that we needed a more nimble response. And our state law did not allow at that time for that nimble response. We needed a state of emergency. And so we changed the law to say when we have these localized microstorms, these natural disasters at a small scale that don't meet the level of a state of emergency but are still devastating for local communities, we need to be more responsive. We changed the law so that we could open up those precious economic development dollars, not just to our small businesses impacted, but also to our nonprofits that are so important to our community. So in the last flood, and I've had a couple since I've been your senator, the Maritime Museum over in Eastport took on nearly 2 feet of water, and we're not eligible for this funding. We changed the law in order so that they could avail themselves of this support. We cannot hold back the tide, but we can be more responsive to our neighbors on their worst days. I'm so grateful to the City of Annapolis and especially the Office of Emergency Management, to the County Economic Development Team, to the Governor's Office, who took a dozen calls from me over the last few days. We might have gavelled in the legislative session, but I was on the phone with Ryan and Alice in the Governor's Office about every hour over the last 3 days to make sure they had everything they need, and so we can cut through this bureaucratic red tape and make sure our small businesses and our nonprofits get everything they need to recover and reopen. And with that, I'm proud to welcome my partner, Alice Estrada, the CEO of the Annapolis Maritime Museum.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, very much on so many levels. Alice Estrada, and I represent the Annapolis Maritime Museum in the community of Eastport. When City Dock floods, we flood. We took in 18 inches of water in this last event in the building. We were able to elevate all our content, so no content loss. But still, 18 inches of water in the building will involve days and days of drying and sanitizing and drying and sanitizing. As we all know, water can be so damaging both to the health of the building and the infrastructure. I really do want to commend Senator Alford and Delegate Jones, because the last flooding event in October of 2021, I was so frustrated and disappointed that I was ineligible for these funds. And sure enough, they told me we're going to get that changed, and sure enough, they did. Unfortunately, I have another flooding event to make this available. But I also want to thank them because they also sponsored a bond bill for us to figure out some short-term and long-term solutions for sea level rise at the Annapolis Maritime Museum. If you don't know, we are a beloved community anchor. We want to figure out a way that we can stay viable, but these flooding events that are happening more and more often is not sustainable for us. It's very, very expensive for us to recover, as I'm sure I speak for all the nonprofits. Nonprofits are businesses too. They just take their proceeds and put them back into their mission. But I feel the pain of all my neighboring businesses downtown, and I just want to say thank you again for the support and the widespread city support as well. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Rice. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Annapolis. I just want to take a minute to talk very briefly about the negative economic impact that a flood can have on a business. When flooding happens, you can have property damage, you can have equipment loss, you can have inventory loss, and the longer that a business is closed, you have a loss of revenue. So there are 4 different kinds of negative financial impacts that can happen to a business when you have an event such as this. There are also some other issues when flood waters rise. And in particular, of course, businesses have to clear out the water and they have to clean up the debris. But in addition to that, they may have repairs that require, if they're significant in particular, an actual city building permit. And the city is committed to expediting those permits as quickly as possible. The other thing from a health and an environmental standpoint is that when floodwaters rise, you can have a sewage backup. Sometimes it releases fuel and other solvents, cleaners, and other chemicals that these businesses have on their premises. The other potential hazard is that when floodwaters rise, water coming in from the creek, you don't know exactly what's in that water. So you don't know what that water is bringing into the business, in addition to not knowing how it's impacting what's already inside the business. So a couple things just I would like to say. It's important, obviously, for all of us to work together. And I think this is an example of city, county, and state cooperation. When this event happened, the county was on site within about 30 minutes. The city had pre-gamed the event before it even happened, and we have obvious state support that has come in to make funds available for these impacted businesses. So I'm going to stop here. The last thing I want to say, though, is that we want these businesses to be up and running as soon as possible. That is our goal. And we also want to get this right so that these businesses' patrons are also protected. At this point, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ryan Lamy. He's the owner of Pips. Quick plug, Pips has excellent hot dogs, and it's right over there.
Good morning, everybody. Please bear with me. I'm not a public speaker. I just make delicious chili dogs. Where do you begin? We've been here 15 years. We've dealt with nuisance flooding. That's just something we deal with here on Dock Street. Greatly looking forward to the revitalization of Dock Street. With what we dealt with on Tuesday, I don't think any of us were prepared for it. We lost more than half of our equipment inside, product, the revenue that we'll lose. It's looking like we could be closed a week, maybe 2 weeks. We've got employees, and I'm speaking on behalf of all the small businesses downtown, just not mine. We've got employees that depend on us. And it's just, we put everything we have into these businesses. It's just, again, bear with me. Just thank you very much, to the mayor, to Senator Elfreth. Just, it'll be a huge burden lifted off of us, just knowing that this financial aid is going to be made available. It's a lot to deal with. And it's our entire lives. And again, I speak on behalf of everybody here on Dock Street in the downtown area. And again, thank you to the community. There's been a lot of outreach. Just coming in, saying, just asking how we're doing. It means a lot. Again, just thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it.
And so if the city dock had been complete on Tuesday, none of these businesses would have been flooded. So we are looking to make this happen sooner rather than later. So we start construction at City Dock. It's not a case of if there's going to be the next Isabel, or will there be. It is going to come. There's no question. We just had the hottest year on record for the planet. Catastrophic weather events are going to be a way of life, and we have to deal with it. We want the state capital of Maryland. We want Annapolis to be the resilience capital of America. We want to lead the way on this project. But we have to come up with the short-term solutions. Another solution besides the barrier that we deployed next week is we're going to work with Delegate Dana Jones and Senator Elfreth on getting some money for an idea called these door dams. They're Dutch door dams. For around $5,000, we could fit out a lot of these doorways, and they would have some protection up to a certain point. We have to sort of check, the vulnerabilities of that, but we think we could probably provide 10 or 20 businesses with that kind of thing. We could provide the Maritime Museum with that kind of thing, and it might be a way to get them to stay up longer. The barrier was great because we kept traffic flowing for 4 extra hours yesterday, the main artery into the city for Eastport. So I want to thank you for covering this, because these businesses are so important to us. Pips is an institution. Everybody loves this man, and everybody loves that restaurant. So I'm looking forward to getting in there and getting my next hot dog. We are open for questions. If you have any questions of any of us, there are people here from the county, state, city, please go ahead. I was going to ask you if you might know that. This is
Thank you. This is Chris Jakubiak, Department of Planning and Zoning. "17 notices were posted. Roughly 13 are still posted. So we've worked the department is working in coordination with the County Department of Health to move those forward.
Talk about what you're seeing in those buildings.
Some of the damage is extensive. Equipment failures, wet floors, obviously, wet carpets. The walls and foundations internal to the buildings are absorbing of water. Some water still standing in some structures. That's the typical set of damage we're seeing.
And I know that there's some work that needs to be done on the Hill. So if you have any specific questions for Senator Elfreth, Delegate Dana Jones, let us know, because they told me they were on a tight schedule today. We're watching, so we're expecting 3.5 to 4 feet of tidal surge. And everybody knows that our problem here is tidal surge. It is water pushing up the bay into the storm drains and up through the grates and then into the businesses or onto compromised streets, stopping traffic. So that's our problem. More than rain, it is tidal surge. So we are going to watch to see if we're going to need to deploy it. We believe it's going to happen earlier in the morning when it's not such a heavily trafficked time. So we're still making that call. So it's still a fluid assessment.
Is all of the funding secured for City Dock Park? If not, how much?
So we're waiting on a big FEMA grant.
Can you repeat the question? Because we're not recording the question. Thank you.
So the question was, is all the funding secured for the City Dock project? We need every dollar. So we need, and those dollars come in millions of dollars. We're doing a $90 billion project here to reimagine this whole area, add additional parking out in the garage. The garage is finished. We start working on the utilities here this year, and then we move forward after boat show to fence off that area and raise City Dock, and then button it up at the end of in the middle of 26. We're nearly there, but we need our state partners, we need our federal partners to really make it happen. Thank you. I think, in the range of 10 to 20, so something like that. So, but we're pretty close, and we feel, we have the relationships, and we had a lot of legislators show up and couldn't get into their hotels on Tuesday night because it was flooded in front of the hotel there. So I think that makes the case for us, and that's going to help our delegation go to bat for us like they always do. So we're definitely not expecting it to be anything like we. Sorry.
I was wondering, because the ground is saturated.
Yeah.
Are you worried about flooding in areas maybe that it didn't happen before? And can people apply for this emergency grant for this flooding if it happens, in addition to the one on Tuesday?
Yeah, we are not expecting that to be an issue with this upcoming storm. We think that the groundwater is receded, so we will be okay through this as long as it doesn't do anything we don't expect. So 3.5 will be okay too. So that is on the groundwater question. On access to the funds, I'll let someone from the county come and speak to that.
Right, so I think in answer to that question, if there were to be another state of emergency declared for this upcoming storm, then yes, those funds would be available. But as the mayor just indicated, he doesn't expect there would be another emergency situation.
So just to be clear, is at this point the emergency grant is just for the Tuesday overnight because the state.
Correct, that is correct, yes.
Thank you.
We'll get someone in.
Okay. The question was, how long will the state of emergency last? My name is David Mandel. I'm Deputy Director of the City of Annapolis Office of Emergency Management. By city code and state statute, I understand the declaration of emergency lasts 30 days unless renewed by council.
And I can't say enough about the team that were out here in the rain on that night, and the way they cleaned up afterwards. If you came to the city of Annapolis, you would think nothing happened. The only way you would know anything happened in this city is if you happen to press your nose up against the window and see the damage that some of these businesses have been affected by. But the team were out in full force. We relocated residents from a homeless shelter. We moved them across town because they had a fire in the middle of the storm. We relocated 40 to 50 people. We got the water moved out of here by the afternoon. It sort of receded. The pumps kicked in when it was at the level that they could handle, and we were back in business. And so we've got some people back in on their feet, but we need to get everybody back in their feet because the business community is just a bigger part of the community than the residential community in the city, and we want to support them. We want to be there for them, and they know that the state the county, and the city have their back. So, well, we appreciate you all being there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do have the names of all of our speakers printed out for you so you can get the spellings right. And we also have a flyer with the QR code for folks to get to the application. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.